Well, there you see him. Back to our main event. That is Gary Russell Jr., and he's looking to establish his dominance in one of the most talented divisions in boxing. And although winning a world title didn't come as fast as his exceptional hand speed, Russell believes it is those fast hands that will make him a special fighter in the featherweight division for years to come.
In 2015, we won the world title.
This fight is over. Gary Russell Jr. is the new champion.
I felt as though I was supposed to have been a world champion. I felt in my heart that's what I was.
I'll tell you, that's a statement. That's how you win a world championship.
My speed definitely sets me head and shoulders above the people in my division.
Speed kills, but you cannot discount Russell's power.
What a shot!
My father always pushed me to have the same level of controlled chaos in the heat of battle. And I think what makes a fighter great is to be able to be versatile in every aspect in the ring. Patrick Highland, he's tall, he's long, he's lanky. He needs distance to be effective. As far as his defense goes, the way we're taught is so different. I'm not gonna just slip a shot just to avoid it. I'm gonna slip a shot to put myself in position to fire effectively. Most guys, they just slip to get out of the way, and he does that a lot. We notice when we watch footage on him, anyone that closed the distance behind 1 or 2 shots, he'll freeze. It'll make it easier for me to close the distance at that particular time. This year, we ready to rock and roll. We planning on chasing down everyone else in this featherweight division and taking their titles from them. That's the plan. Cut and dry. I definitely won Leo Santa Cruz. I beat him in the U.S. Championships a couple years back. I heard he won his revenge. As far as any other fighters having a target on me or me being the bullseye, that's stuff that I don't worry about. They better be ready. The target's on them whether they know it or not.
Well, as you just heard him, Russell Jr. says his goal is to unify titles at the featherweight division, but first, he has to defend that title. It is time for our main event. Let's go back ringside. Here's Morrill, Al, and Paulie.
Thanks a lot, because from here at the Fox Theater at Foxwood Resorts Casino in Mashantucket, Connecticut, we are set for the WBC Featherweight Championship affair after a career-long layoff and after his signature victory in which he won the title from Johnny Gonzalez. Gary Russell Jr. defends against Patrick Highland, looking to become the first Irish featherweight champion since Barry McGuigan over 30 years ago. Here is Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for the main event of the evening. Please welcome the boxers as they make their way to the ring. First, here is the challenger from Ireland, introducing Patrick, the Punisher Highland.
There is 32-year-old Patrick, the Punisher Highland, in his first world championship bout, his second fight without his father, Patrick Sr., who took his life last year after suffering from mental health issues. I certainly hope we see the day where we end the stigma and we allow those who suffer from depression an opportunity to speak about their feelings. I know he has his dad in his thoughts tonight as he vies to become a champion. A record of 31-1 with 15 wins inside the distance. A prohibitive underdog tonight. But said all the red things at the fighter meeting, extremely confident. And hoping to bring the championship back to Ireland.
Open up. You got 2 mouthpieces? 2 mouthpieces?
Yes, we have 2 mouthpieces.
Okay. Good luck.
Here is the defending champion of the world, Mr. Gary Russell Jr.
It is thought that he may have the fastest hands in the sweet science. Gary Russell Jr. about to make the maiden voyage as champion at 126 pounds. But coming off that career-long layoff, was supposed to defend the title late last year, suffered a cut in training, then was scheduled to defend the title in March on the undercard of the Keith Thurman-Sean Porter fight. Keith Thurman in a minor car accident postponed that bout. So here he is. After a 386-day layoff, Gary Russell Jr. set to defend the title for the first time, but coming off a dominant win over Johnny Gonzalez, recording the 4th round knockout to win the WBC's green belt. Al, take us through the numbers.
Well, Gary Russell, when he was sitting with us, whether he said it just to kind of pump up the idea of Patrick Hyland as a good opponent or whether he meant it, said that the height and the reach of Hyland could be an issue for him. And of course, Hyland does have a big advantage in both those areas, but there is the skill set of Gary Russell Jr. that could counteract that.
Once again, with the official introductions, here is Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to Foxwoods Resort Casino here in Mashantucket, Connecticut for the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by DeBella Entertainment and Showtime, sponsored by Corona La Cerveza Más Fina. This bout is sanctioned by the WBC, the president Mauricio Sulaiman, the supervisors Bob Yellen and Mike George, along with the Mashantucket Pequot Athletic Division. The chairman is George Henningsen and the supervising commissioner Matthew Cooper. Introducing our 3 judges scoring this bout from ringside: from Flushing, New York, John McKay; from Connecticut, Eddie Scunzio; and from Groton, Connecticut, Don Trella. Introducing our referee in charge, he is our 3rd man in the ring, Danny Scavone. All right, fans, here we go with the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Featherweight Championship of the World. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Foxwoods Resort Casino, it's showtime! Introducing to you first the challenger on my right. He is fighting out of the red corner, wearing green trunks with gold trim. Hailing from Dublin, Ireland, he weighed in at the featherweight limit of 126 pounds. His fine record stands at 31 wins, only 1 loss, with 15 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the popular Irish featherweight contender, tonight making his first attempt at a world title, introducing Patrick, the Punisher Hyland. And his opponent across the ring, the defending world champion on my left, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trunks with red trim, fighting out of Capitol Heights, Maryland. He weighed in the same as his opponent, 126 pounds, and his record stands at 26 wins, 1 loss, with 15 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2008 U.S. Olympian. Tonight making the first defense of his world title, here is the defending WBC Featherweight Champion of the World, introducing Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Once again, our referee in charge. He is now to give instructions, Danny Scavone.
Tonight's edition of Showtime Championship Boxing is being broadcast on AFN, the American Forces Network, and we welcome the men and women of the U.S. Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines stationed around the world. We are so proud to have you with us and hope you are enjoying tonight's broadcast. Gary Russell comes from a fighting family of brothers about to make the first defense of his 126-pound title. Patrick Hyland has 2 brothers who have also participated in the sweet science. He wants to bring the belt back to Ireland. Round 1 underway.
Highland came out right away with that long right hand.
Well, after a guy's been off for that long, you want to try and get him in the early rounds, and Highland looking to impose his will early.
The champion, slick and quick southpaw Gary Russell Jr. in the black and red. The challenger, Patrick Highland, in the green and gold.
Russell with that sharp jab. I tell you, Highland's no slouch with his own little snap on his shots.
Well, one thing that Patrick Highland has is a sneaky and kind of powerful right hand. So if he can find a home for it in this fight, he's clearly a huge underdog, but that's a punch he'll pin his hopes on.
He's also a huge featherweight.
Mentioned that Russell comes from a fighting family. The Russells, the first set of 4 brothers to all win the National Golden Gloves. For Highland, his brother Eddie, now a trainer. Lightweight Paul, currently 10-0. So both of them firmly established in the fight game. Russell trained by his father. Patrick Highland, of course, as we mentioned, lost his dad last year.
Look at that speed of Russell. That jab, man, you don't even see it. Especially coming from the southpaw stance, it's even shorter than it is for a right-hander.
Yeah. And, you know, early in this fight, we'll be looking to see if Russell is punching through his punches. You know, with his hand issues that have been recurring in his career, sometimes he comes into fights and doesn't really punch with the right conviction.
Yeah, but Russell actually broke both hands early in an amateur tournament and still won the tournament. Nice left.
Let's go.
To make that right hand
I
by Russell.
I like the attempt catch and shoot, though, by Highland.
Yes.
It shows he's alert. It shows he's here to fight, and he's got that mentality with him.
That's a good point. He's focused in this fight. He didn't come in here to lay down. You know, he really didn't.
Coming off a win last October in Lowell, Massachusetts, an 8-round knockout, but there's that blazing hand speed by Russell on display.
Highland will be hit with an onslaught early, and he said, I have to get through it, and I have to be standing there rounds from that first round smiling and saying, I'm still here, Gary Russell. We'll see.
The impressive thing about Russell is it's not just the hand speed, it's his positioning, his fundamental technical boxing as well. You know, sometimes guys take their speed for granted and their fundamentals are wrong, but Russell has very good fundamentals to go along with that hand speed, so it only enhances the speed.
It's what happens when you grow up in a boxing gym. Again, a 2012 Olympian unable to compete because he passed out during the day of the weigh-in, but has gone on to a terrific career. Definitely has Vasily Lomachenko still in his sights after losing to the preternaturally talented double Olympic gold medalist.
Let's take a look at the keys to victory for Gary Russell. Don't get ahead of yourself. What I mean by that, and he didn't in round 1, don't go looking for some early knockout. You've been out of the ring a long time. The combinations, we saw evidence of that in round 1. Punch with conviction. I talked about that. Punch through your punches, and he looks like he's doing that in this fight. As for Patrick Highland, weather the storm, and that storm has begun to gather for him. Got to get through those early rounds and maybe land something of your own in the process. Got to keep his hands up. He's done a fairly good job of that. And the sneaky right hand, that's going to be exactly what he pins his hopes on in this fight.
Okay. On your job, he's on the down to the side. Give me the gum shield. Okay, you got to be going to the side. That's that trying to
Set for round 2, Highland trained by Pascal Collins, the younger brother of former middleweight and super middleweight champion Steve Collins.
Terrific fighter.
Round 2.
Did like the poker face of Highland. After that first round, he didn't look confused, he didn't look mesmerized, just went back to his corner and comes out in round 2 very businesslike as well. Counter to the counter there of Russell.
The Russell jab is, you pointed it out, it's a very, very impressive
It's
weapon.
a bullet train.
You see he threw it, Highland tried to counter with his right hand, and then Russell countered that right hand.
Yeah, the difference in hand speed, of course, will be impressive. There's the right hand to the body. In watching video of Highland, he likes to get that right hand downstairs.
Oh, there is that right hook.
5,
Same shot that hurt Gonzalez.
7, 8. Walk to me. You okay?
Highland goes down for the first time in his career. Hyland's nicknamed the Punisher after the comic book character, but it's Gary Russell who's faster than a speeding bullet. And the blitz is on.
Hyland's got a hold.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You good? Walk.
Second knockdown within seconds.
I'm watching you now.
Hyland has to hold right now. If he doesn't have the legs to get away, he better hold.
Oh, and the onslaught continues, and the referee has waved it off. Gary Russell Jr. makes it look oh so easy in his first title defense.
This guy's scary good.
And he has already talked about wanting to unify with Lee Selby, possibly fighting Leo Santa Cruz, and he said it doesn't matter how long it takes, he wants a rematch with Vasily Lomachenko, Al.
Yeah, now, the one thing about this, and we look at Patrick Hyland, of course, you want to make sure he's okay, and they're checking him just to make doubly sure.
Where are we? Okay. What state are we in?
New York, Boston. Between both of them.
All right. See the stool right here? You know, you sit there. You want to just go tell them to they don't need to.
Well, we're looking at Gary Russell, and we were commenting on the fact that one of the things about this fight that was special was he was able to punch with power. He going over to Patrick Hyland, and that's a good show of sportsmanship, but he punched through his punches. He showed true power like he did in the Gonzalez fight, and clearly Hyland's, you know, big underdog and maybe not in the upper echelon of that division, but it was still an impressive performance.
It's the way he's finishing. It's unbelievable.
Yes, exactly.
Back to back. Knockout wins. Take a look out.
The right hook of Russell is a very powerful punch, and not all left-handers have that punch. He does.
And that left hand set up the hook with it. Again, I call it you're cocking your hips to kind of load up on the hook. And by throwing that left hand to the stomach, look, his hip turns, so he gets all the weight on the right hook.
Vicious right hook.
Throws that with a lot of leverage.
The emphasis is on purpose on the hook there, but you're throwing the left hand kind of as a decoy to cock your hip.
The second knockdown, which again was the right hook that created the real problem. He landed a good left hand, but ultimately it's a hook again that does it for Gary Russell.
And I like how calm he is in the storm there, Al. You know, he's staying nice and calm, picking his shots to finish. Sometimes guys go crazy just to move their hands to get a stoppage.
That's a good point.
This kid picks those shots nicely.
We all know what they say about speed, and it was on full display here tonight, courtesy of Gary Russell Jr., who sends Patrick Hyland down a total of 3 times within seconds.
A man who had never been down before. In fact, he told us, I've never been close to being down, and he is a very tough guy. But Russell punching with the authority that sometimes we don't see in fights because of his hand issues, but in this fight, like the Gonzalez fight, punching with great authority.
And nice to see Patrick Hyland giving the crowd a nice round of applause. Good to see him back on his feet, and there's the Russell family jubilant, in a celebratory mood. One of them even shocked by what she's seen, the display by Gary Russell Jr.
Vicious.
And he is a 126-pound champion willing to unify the title. And he has his sights set on Lee Selby.
And we saw Lee Selby, of course, defend his title. And you look at the numbers, the accuracy of Russell, significant. Those power punches landing at a tremendous rate.
Let's make it official with Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the time of 1 minute 33 seconds in round number 2. He is the winner by way of knockout and still the WBC featherweight champion of the world, Mr. Gary Russell Jr.
Gary Russell Jr. improves to 27-1 with his 16th win via form of knockout. 93 seconds of the second round does it in scintillating fashion. Let's go to Jim Gray. All right, Morrow, thank you very much. Gary, so much for ring rust. That was a quick performance. Obviously, you have to be pleased.
Of course. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody back at home that's at the fight party. My mother, I love you. To my babies, Harmony and Gianna, Daddy got the W.
Why were you so effective so quickly?
We put the work in the gym. We put the work in, we train hard. I get cursed out just about every day by my dad. I feel like I'm the worst fighter sometime leaving the gym. But we're our worst critics. We push ourselves to the limit, and that's why we got the win tonight.
You probably felt you weren't going to be pushed, but did you expect that it would be this quick and this easy?
No, you never know what to expect in a fight like this. That's the purpose of training camps. You know, we prepared for the duration of the fight. We was ready to go 12 rounds, long and hard if it had to. We executed a level of defensive discipline. We stuck to the game plan. We stayed sharp, stayed behind the jab, kept them at bay. You know, I was able to capitalize on his mistakes.
So now we'll look forward. Leo Santa Cruz, Lee Selby, perhaps try and avenge Lomachenko. What would you like to do? All of that?
Definitely all of the above. We would love to get the fight against Lee Selby and unify. We'll also love to face Leo Santa Cruz. But please, if you watching this fight, Lomachenko, you got to see me. It's going down.
You believe he'll wait at the weight, or he says he's moving on?
It doesn't matter what weight these fights. I don't care if he moves up to 147 pounds. I will follow him to whatever weight that he's in to get that fight.
And there are a lot of other attractive fights, as we just mentioned. If Lomachenko doesn't want it as much as you do, Selby next, maybe?
Of course, Lee Selby or Leo Santa Cruz, whichever one.
Gary, congratulations. Good to see you back in the ring.
Thank you.
We have all been very deeply saddened by the passing of our dear friend, Gary Shandling. He was a brilliant television pioneer and genius. Gary had a deep love and affection for the sport of boxing, and he had a passion for it. He loved to spar, and he owned a gym in Los Angeles. Most of all, he was just a huge, huge boxing fan. He was a fighter, tough enough to rise to the very top of his profession and to stay there. But I'm reminded of something Gary said that rings so true and really says it all about him. He said, "Nice guys finish first. If you don't know that, you really don't know where the finish line is." Gary made you laugh until it hurt, and that's what hurts the most. He recently told Jerry Seinfeld that when it was his time to die, he hoped that a boxing referee would just stand over him and at the count of 5 say, "That's it, he's not getting up." Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote that when nature removes a great person, man explores the horizon for a successor. But none comes and none will, for his class is extinguished with him. Gary Shandling was in a class all of his own. May God rest his soul. Morrow?
Well said, Jim, and we echo his sentiments. Rest in peace, Gary Shandling. All right, before we wrap it up from here in Foxwoods, here is more on Showtime's The Drew.
The Drew is LA basketball.
And it's dead smack in the middle of the hood.
This is like hell, man, but it's heaven to us.
It was a kind of a little bit of a safe haven.
It was a little mecca of the ghetto.
I think the Drew is like a place where we can go to. No matter how intense it gets, you cool here. Basketball saved my life.
Always make time for a Showtime documentary. Paulie, let's start with you. Your final thoughts on what you just saw from Gary Russell Jr.
Very impressive, explosive. He continues to look better and better, get better and better. I think he's the best fighter in that division, especially with Lomachenko having moved up.
And Al, Jose Pedraza looked better tonight in our opening contest.
It was a special performance for him against a very good fighter. A disappointing night for Smith, but a very impressive performance. Pedraza, who may be becoming an icon in Puerto Rico.
All right, well, Gary Russell, definitely an icon in his family as he successfully defends his 126-pound title and has sights set on unifying the title. And Brian Custer, anytime a fighter wants to unify the championship in boxing, that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely, Mo. I would love to see Gary Russell Jr. against Lee Selby, eventually against Leo Santa Cruz. He even said he would love to fight Abner Mars. There's some great fights coming up at 126, and tonight you got a chance to see just how fast that hand speed is of Gary Russell Jr. We'll have more from Foxwoods in just a moment, but first, a preview of what's coming up Thursday, April 21st on Showtime Extreme. You know, each month, Showtime is saluting many of the legendary boxers, compelling rivalries, and great fights from the past. Now, throughout the month of April, we are featuring Fights of the Year. One of the best ever was fought May 7, 2005. Steve Albert and Al Bernstein were ringside for what might be the best fight ever on Showtime. Here's Al's reflection on that remarkable bout.
The greatest fight I announced here at Showtime, and in fact the best fight I've ever announced in my 35-year career was Jose Luis Castillo and Diego Corrales.
We've got two guys who personify toughness, power, and courage.
Here we go. Castillo just matching Corrales punch for punch. Here's Corrales now, it's his turn. And back comes Castillo. The war of attrition as advertised rages on. Oh, what a left by Corrales. Unbelievable. Ebb and flow. The action just never lets up. The right hand at the bell by Corrales.
By the middle of the fight, we knew that we were seeing the fight of the year. What we didn't know is we might be seeing the fight of the century.
One of the things that makes that fight special for me is that as I was sitting at ringside, it's impossible not to appreciate Jose Luis Castillo or Diego Corrales as fighters. They were warriors, they were skilled, and they put everything on the line that night.
Round 10, they touch gloves, and here we go again. Oh, what a left hook by Castillo, and Corrales is down. What a dramatic moment here in round 10. Castillo looking to finish it here, he goes down again.
When Corrales went down for the second time, the fight appeared to be over, and that would have made this fight a classic.
You all right? Dreadful round for Corrales. Down 2 times here in the 10th. Corrales comes back, a straight right. Now Castillo against the ropes. Corrales coming back. Castillo's in trouble. Weak steps in, and the fight is over. Corrales with a remarkable, dramatic turnaround to win this fight.
I'll never forget being in that arena. People were stunned. That round and that moment kind of typifies, doesn't it, what boxing is all about. With this wonderful artistry and this excitement, there's always the unexpected.
Well, the replay of that fight in its entirety is coming up next Thursday, April 21st at 10 p.m. on Showtime Extreme. Jose Luis Castillo versus Diego Corrales, the 2005 Fight of the Year, one of the best fights ever seen here on Showtime. Let's recap our night of boxing from Foxwoods. We started with the IBF Junior Lightweight title fight. Jose Pedraza making the second title defense. Round 9, it was that right hand there that dropped Stephen Smith. And the sniper went on to defend his title successfully for the second time in a unanimous decision. The main event, Gary Russell Jr. defending his WBC featherweight title for the first time against Patrick Hyland. Round 2, watch the right hook coming up here. That one dropped Hyland. He drops Hyland 3 times in the second round. And Gary Russell Jr. defends his WBC featherweight title successfully for the first time. Tonight's Showtime Championship Boxing will have several re-airings, so in case you missed any part of tonight's action or you just want to watch the fights again, check out our replays on Showtime and Show Extreme. Coming up next, it's an encore episode of Dice, a semi-autobiographical series starring comedian Andrew Dice Clay. Friday, April 29th, it's the premiere of The Drew. Produced and directed by former NBA star Baron Davis, this documentary chronicles the rise of a pro-am basketball league in the heart of South Central Los Angeles. Saturday, April 30th on Showtime Championship Boxing, it's 2 super middleweight title bouts. WBC champ Badu Jack takes on former champion Lucien Bute and IBF champion James DeGale against Rogelio Medina. Now for Al Bernstein, Mauro Ranallo, Paulie Malignaggi, Steve Farhood, Jim Gray, and our entire Showtime sports crew, I'm Brian Custer. Good night from Foxwoods.